Hi, I'm very pleased today that I've got somebody very special with me called Fiona Stevenson. Fiona's been a member of the LWO group since 2015. Fee, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Fee. I was diagnosed with lymphedema in 2008 following my seventh breast cancer operation. And I had lymphedema again in my right arm following my second mastectomy in 2015. So I became lopsided lush in 2007 and I became your flatmate in 2015.
Yes, you did. We first met in Birmingham at
Yes, we
the
did.
John Lewis Centre Community Hub.
Yes.
And we both got stands. I got very little on mine at the time because we were just going into the community. And of course, that's something neither of us can do now. So tell us a little bit about swimming after surgery.
Swimming After Surgery is a swimming group set up to help ladies who have had cancer. Unfortunately, during the pandemic, it's not running. It was set up to help a friend who'd had a mastectomy in 2008. And I was talking to her in April 2010. And I said to her, now you're on the road to recovery, what would you like to do? She said, I'd love to be able to learn to swim, but I can't afford the lessons. That was one Sunday night in April. Me being me, didn't say a word to her because I didn't know if I could help her. But the next morning, I was on the phone to the swimming coordinator at my local council at 8:30 in the morning, saying, I want to set up a mastectomy swimming group called MSG. That's a great idea, but go to the breast cancer support group for feedback. Oh boy, did I get feedback. 4 sheets of A4 paper. I've been too narrow-minded, and as you can see, MSG didn't come into fruition. Swimming After Surgery, brackets SAS, did. So SAS has empowered the women, and we've had a giggle with it because when I go out into the community and speak to community groups to help raise funds and raise awareness of how we help people, I get introduced as Fee from the SAS. No, not that one.
Yeah, I know but you did, when you were able to go swimming, you were actually providing an absolutely great service for people that have had breast cancer. And I'm assuming a lot of them had also got lymphedema as well.
Yeah.
And that's a double blow, isn't it, when you've had breast cancer to be diagnosed then with lymphedema.
Yep, and it's a shock when you get told that you've got it. And how I alleviated mine was a shock. I actually learnt bench pressing thanks to Rotary, and they got me with the GB Paralympic trainer to train and have a go at bench pressing. And at that point, I didn't have the use of my left arm, and my coaches were concerned that I wouldn't be able to do it. The GB coach said, if it's going to hurt her, I'm not going to let her do it. But he says, I want to see if I can help her. So he got me to hold the bar, and he got me to position it lying down and just pushing it away from my chest and back up with my arms with the limited movement I got. I did quite well and pushed the bar 8 times. Then he said, do you really want to push those weights, don't you? I said, yes. He said, I'm going to let you push the biscuit weights once, and that is your lot today. So I put the biscuit weights, we put the biscuit weights on, I pushed that bar and succeeded. That same night in Coventry in a hotel having a shower, my arm felt different. From not being able to raise it to halfway up my shoulder, I was able to raise my arm above my head. And now I use that technique to help other ladies in and out the pool so they can have the free movement as well with lymphedema in their arms.
I'm glad you used the word movement because I know a lot of our members absolutely do not like the word exercise. So we did a big thing about changing to get moving. And of course, the current BLS campaign fits very nicely with ours because everybody can. So get moving, everybody can. So it's absolutely fantastic, isn't it? It helps. But I also want to talk to you about your disability work, because you've helped us a lot with our page. We're going to have the giggles, aren't we?
I'm embarrassed because I've helped you so much.
Well, you have. I mean, when I first asked you about the page we were doing, and you said, well, that's not quite right, and that would go better. And we actually put a very, very good page together, I think.
Yeah.
So that our members, when they're out in the community, they know what to look for. I mean, you told me about peeps and things that I would never have looked at. You've taught me about print. We were talking yesterday about fonts. You know, tell me a little bit about that.
PEEPS is personal emergency evacuation plans for somebody like me who's a manual wheelchair user. Going into a building is traumatic in itself, but trying to get out in an emergency is worse. I actually got caught in a hotel fire in Manchester, and the agency staff evacuated me past the kitchen where the fire was, and the flames came over my head. And you should never be pushed towards a fire. You should always be pushed away from a fire. But that's not what they did. They didn't follow protocol. And there was other people in the lifts, and I discovered that during the fire, some lifts will automatically go to the basement. And this is what had happened in this hotel in Manchester. The people in the lift had been left in the dark to find their own way out in the basement. Nobody helped them. So they had struggled to come out. I was pushed the wrong way out of the building. And worse still, 2 of my friends were left in the building during the whole evacuation. They pulled the red cord, but the agency staff had evacuated themselves and not bothered to check the hotel was fully evacuated. And it's not the fire brigade's job to do the evacuation. It's event organisers and the venue's responsibility to do it. So that taught me an awful lot. So through that, I share my experience and make sure that event organisers and stall holders know that if they can assist and help, please do, because it's not the fire brigade's responsibility to do that, because their response is close the fire doors off as quick as possible and get the fire out. And the fire doors should hold for at least for half an hour to an hour. So if they're not likely to get the fire out in that time, that what you do is you just move 2 fire doors further away, so that it gives an extra hour away to give the fire brigade time to get the fire out. So that's called horizontal evacuation rather than complete evacuation of a building, if it's possible to do that, if there are fire doors. If not, it is a complete fire evacuation. So I learned that from my own personal experience. You wanted to know regarding fonts and stuff.
Yes.
I'm part of various different groups with social services to improve domiciliary care, and I'm also part of a rail collaboration meetings with stakeholder equality groups, and also part of the main rail collaboration. And through that, we have attendees who have different needs. Some may be visually impaired and they might need a certain font. Other people might be completely visually impaired and they can't access Teams for their readers on the screen of their laptops or phones. So Zoom works better for them for that. So I'm learning a lot of different things. White writing on red or green backgrounds, people really struggle with the green. So a lot of them prefer white writing, black writing on a white background. But we were speaking about this yesterday, and other people have different needs. So you have to be aware that you have to be accessible for all, and you can't really exclude people because nobody wants to discriminate. But the trouble is, it's how do you know what people's requirements are unless they tell you? So how you don't know what you don't know. So unless people tell you, you wouldn't know there was a situation. So when I turn up to meet or going to be attending meetings, I let people know I'm a wheelchair user and ask the questions, is the venue accessible for me? Most of the time I get the answer yes, and then I turn up and find no.
Yeah, I know. I
This
mean,
is the thing.
I've got two grandchildren that have got Erling's, which wasn't diagnosed until they went to college, which means they can't read black writing on white paper.
Yeah.
And they have to have a coloured film over it to see. So, of course, that makes me think when I'm doing my posters, and in the early days, I've got them very, very wrong. Because once or twice you pointed out and said, hey, come on, let's get
Well,
this changed.
well,
But
it's
you
only
see,
because I've
unless
learnt from
people
other
don't tell
people.
you.
No, it's only because I've learnt from other people, and I actually know that white writing on green background is a definite no-no. So because I know that, you also have to be aware that other people want white and black. So you need to be able to produce both so that people have got an easy read version and a colour version if that's what they want. It's boring black and white, I know, and when we're trying to promote what we're doing, we like to be able to say this is what we're doing, but it's being able to understand what's going on and how we do it, and it's being able to offer that wider service. It's only because I'm learning it through 10 years of experience of running swimming after surgery that people have told me, and that's why I share my experience with others. And that's what I do with Macmillan and Cancer Research UK and other things, because if we don't raise our voices about lymphedema services and how we find the lack of it, we wouldn't be able to change things. So by being a Macmillan campaigner online and being part of Cancer Research UK campaigns, because they interlink, there's no point saying I'm one or the other, I'm both. I mean, I couldn't do just one because they're so interlinked. And it's the same with the lymphedema service. If you don't campaign and you don't raise your voice to those that matter, like local health watches in England, and your local authority, your CCGs and clinical commissioning groups, if you don't raise your voice to them, they can't solve the problems you've got. So, but through your group, you've produced surveys, and I actually jump on the bandwagon. I fill in the survey, and I say how bad the service is right now. It is really, really important that reimbursement of money for this service is implemented as soon as possible. In 2008, we could have at hospices where the lymphedema specialist did manual lymphatic drainage and provided us with the garments. Now the manual lymphatic drainage is private only in my area, and that's not good. The compression garments, the hospice write to my GP attaching a prescription. The GP receptionists tend to file the prescription and not issue it. I then have to chase and say, have you had the prescription? They say, yeah, oh, it was filed. Well, why don't you action it? Well, you actually have to request it. No, joined up thinking should be automatic. You receive a prescription from the service, it should be issued. They're not asking for it to be filled 6 months later. You want it there and then, not for, and then it gets to the local pharmacy, mine's Asda, gets to there, they haven't got the items in stock, they order it, and then it's 6 to 8 weeks before the items come in. It's not good enough.
No, it isn't good enough. And I'm fortunate I don't have to wear compression sleeves. My compression has to be my bra. And that's even more because if I wear the ones that are produced, they're not feminine, they don't make you feel nice, might do the job. But, you know, it's, I guess we want a lot more than we're getting, don't we?
But the thing is, because we had a good service in 2008, we know what that service was like, and that is the issue. We know what it should be like now, and it's not. So this is why we need voices of experience to say, this is what it was like in 2008, this is what it's like now. It's descended into chaos. Let's bring it back up to where it should be.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you. And of course, the biggest fear we all have at the moment is a lot of the lymphedema nurse practitioners, those very experienced people, have been redeployed in the NHS because of current positions with the pandemic. And we're all afraid these services will not get back up and running.
That's
you
the
know.
issue. And it's the same with my swimming group. I mean, I can't run it until we know how we can safeguard it.
Mm,
And this is the issue. We're such a vulnerable group. I have to be looking at all the risk assessments before I even consider reopening the swimming group. And it's too risky.
yeah,
I don't even know when I will be able to say it's safe. I can't at the moment. Like we could be looking at 3 or 5 years down the line. It's disappointing, but it's the only way we can be because it's such a high risk group.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, totally agree with you. And I know a lot of our members do as well. I think there's a lot of very worried people out there. And, you know, when you're trying to do things over the phone, it's not the same, you know, and a lot of them, their prescriptions are not getting seen properly.
No,
And we really need a complete overhaul, I think, and current thinking. And I'm hoping, like you, that when this, I don't think we'll ever get back to the normal we knew, but when things do hopefully start to get better, we can start to kick off services again. And I'm so glad as support groups, we can at least offer some form of help.
and this is what we've had to do. We've had to adapt from not doing swimming to doing something else. So we've
Yeah,
actually been supporting ladies with benefit applications, signposting them to support groups like yours, Gaynor, which is very
yeah,
secure because you ask questions and you make sure that it is secure for your members, and that's why you ask the questions. And if people aren't prepared to answer the questions, then sorry, they can't join the group, because you have to be secure online as well.
yeah.
And then what we've also done is we've asked people who we've been helping, who are going through chemo and radiotherapy or whatever, what would you like? And one of them said to me, I'd like a shawl. So I can crochet a shawl quicker than I can knit it. So I made one on a basic pattern. And I thought, well, actually, I've got plenty of wool left. I'm going to try something different. So I went onto YouTube, learned within a week how to do a virus shawl, made it, washed it, dried it, and sent them both off in the post to her, telling her before she used them, they had to be washed again because of the virus. I didn't want it to be high risk. And I'd used the antibacterial gel on my hands every time I picked it up and went back to it to make sure I was not contaminating it any shape or form as much as I could. And it got washed, and I said to her, make sure they're washed before you use them. She's having chemo at the moment, and she's got one that she can have in the wash and one she can wear. So that was the idea of doing two. She absolutely loves them. And it's just little things like that we're doing to change things and help and adapt as much as we can. It's not that we don't care, we do, but we've got to be safe and we can't go swimming. So what else can we do? What other support can we give? If it's signposting to support groups like yours, we do. If it's signposting to benefit application help through the CAB, we do that. If it's anything else, we do what we can.
Yeah.
And that's what we just never know what we're going to be asked next. And this is the thing with support groups. It's like when I spoke to my friend, I never expected to set the swimming group up. It was just an idea. I went to the council, let's see what we can do. And in that time, in the last 10 years, I gained swimming qualifications. I attempted the National Lifeguard Pool qualification. I tried to pass it, but I didn't. I failed because of my disabilities. But the knowledge I gained from that means I can support if there is an incident at the pool. And it's things, and then I've learned to do CPDs which are continuing professional development for teaching adults and children with disabilities. And I was teaching on poolside at a swimming club in my wheelchair. So I have backed my knowledge up and my experiences up. And when somebody said to me, what qualifications have I got when I set swimming after surgery up? I had no swimming qualifications whatsoever. And I just went from one stage to another to basically learn it, get on with it. And I've literally hit the ground running and had to. And I broke the red tape backwards. We came across the red tape issue. We set the group up and then broke the red tape. It was the only way we could do it. Otherwise, if we'd got everything in place to start with, we'd have been 3 years down the line before we could even help my friend. I had to do it from the heart, and that's what I've done. And my passion shone through, your passion has shown through for what you do, Gaynor. And through that, we interlink and we signpost and we share things, social media, we share information. By the way, your newsletter is coming out soon. I've signed up for that today.
Great. That's the one I'm doing jointly with Mary, who has done an absolutely fantastic job.
And I've got the confirmation email from Mary saying you've joined us. So yeah, so anybody who's newly diagnosed with lymphedema, don't worry that you don't understand it. I was shocked when I was told initially I got a swelling, it was nothing to worry about on my torso following my mastectomy, and then I kept going back because it was worrying me. And I thought, well, I've had major operations before. This swelling's different and it feels different, and I feel like I've got the flu. So I kept going back to the GPs and saying I don't feel very well. Within 18 months of the first visit to the GP, telling them 2 weeks after my mastectomy I didn't feel right, the GP sent me to Severn Hospice, and I was taken with a voluntary driver, and they could see from my face I was scared. And they said, "Are you all right?" I went, "No." And they said, "Why?" I said, "Nobody warned me that I'd be going to the hospice for treatment." And I just thought hospices did palliative care.
Yes,
I
didn't
know they did other services. And through that, I learned an awful lot. And I also support the hospice when they put a shout out for Christmas decorations or other things they want. I help support as much as I can. So I've learned an awful lot through my own experiences. But when you get that letter to start with, you go into the hospice, it's end of life. And it's that fear.
I thought I was dying. I thought there was something they hadn't told me. Look, we've got about less than a minute to go. I'd love to do this with you again if we can.
Yeah.
Soon.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. We'll pick this up again. Fee, thank you very much for your time this time, and we'll get this up in the newsletter.
Thank you. Thanks, Gaynor. Thanks for all you do for all of us.
All right, Fee, and thank you for the support you give us. Take care, my lovely.
And you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.